Well, good afternoon, and thank you all for joining us today for the second in our four-part fall webinar series. My name is Jessica DeGraff, and I, along with my counterpart, Megan Owens, work with independent garden centers across North America. Essentially, our role is to work to support this critical segment of our industry with unique programs, marketing tools, and support mechanisms to help make the Proven Winners brand work for you at a very local level. Our webinar today is focused on social media, more specifically tips from our panel of pros that will help you to create engagement and social media connections in 2021. As you know, we could spend hours reviewing the nuances of each of the social media platforms, but in the interest of time today, we're going to focus on a brief overview of some of the more popular platforms and share some key tips from our panel of experts. As always, if you have questions or you'd like a deeper dive into any of the social media platforms, please email Megan or myself. Before we get started, we have just a few housekeeping items that we wanted to share with you. First and foremost, all of the attendees are going to be in listen-only mode. What this simply means is that you can see us and hear us, but you're not able to speak. That being said, we absolutely love participation, especially when we have three great panelists that are here today to answer your questions. So to communicate, there's a couple different ways that you can do that with us. As you hover over the bottom of your screen, you should see the toolbar like what you see on the slide deck here. You'll see two different icons. There's a chat icon and a Q&A icon. You can click on either of those and enter your questions into the chat or question and answer function. Megan's going to be monitoring all of the questions that come through chat and question and answer, and she'll be posing those to the panelists throughout the webinar, as well as asking them additional questions during the Q&A session at the end of the webinar. So if you have questions throughout, please feel free to chat. Megan is available for you at any point in time. We want this webinar to be as interactive as possible. So before we get started, I wanted to share just a quick overview of what we're going to be covering today. We want to talk a little bit about a review of the social media platforms and some of the industry statistics, but we also want to talk about how to engage and create meaningful connections. And so each of our panelists is going to be talking about doing that. We're also going to look at influencers and the role of influencers in the horticulture industry and how you and your garden center can capitalize on those, whether those be macro influencers or micro influencers. We're also going to share some must-use tips and tools. Each of our panelists have a great list of items that they've used, that they've been successful with, and that they want to share with you. And last but not least, we'll do about a 10 to 15 minute Q&A session at the end of the webinar. So without further ado, let's introduce our panelists. We're really excited to introduce the social media experts that we have with us today. While each of these women come from varied backgrounds in the horticulture industry, they all have a wealth of knowledge of not only plants, but also social media that they love to share. So our first panelist is Stacey Hervela. Since joining the Proven Winners Color Choice Shrubs team in 2011, Stacey has made it her mission to help gardeners of all skill levels to find success with our shrubs. Between responding to consumer questions that come in on the Proven Winners website and running the Proven Winners social media for 8 years, she's developed a very keen sense on how to inform and inspire home gardeners and help them build confidence in their ability to plant something and to watch it grow. Next, we have Susan Martin of Gardener Sue's News. Susan is a freelance horticultural marketer, writer, speaker, and consultant based in West Michigan. Working with the Proven Winners team, Susan supports the brand with her social media skills, copywriting, and plant knowledge, which she's gained by serving the horticulture industry for over 21 years. Over the past 5 years, she's managed the Proven Winners Instagram page, growing it to a following of over 130,000 consumers, which is the most of any plant brand in North America. Susan is an avid gardener who doesn't just talk the talk, she walks the walk in her Zone 6 garden and has been featured in print and online, and has had gardeners from all over the world visit her gardens in West Michigan. In addition to Susan and Stacey, we also have Jenny Simpson. Jenny and her husband Jerry own and operate Creekside Nursery in Dallas, North Carolina. They began Creekside 14 years ago and have grown it into a unique destination garden center featuring a comprehensive assortment of Proven Winners annuals, perennials, flowering shrubs, and aquapots. They take pride in making gardeners of all levels feel welcome, which is a sentiment that comes across in the how-to videos that Jenny produces. Jenny shares her experiences of gardening in the South, in her videos on Facebook and YouTube, as well as her fantastic photos on Instagram. So before we get to the panelists, I just wanted to share a few stats about social media and usage, not only in the US, but across the world. And something that's been really interesting, and Megan and I have really been tracking over the last 8 to 10 months, is just how much social media use has increased with COVID and with more people being home. And something that I wanted to share, if you haven't seen this website, it's called Oberlo, and they have excellent statistics on social media usage. So if you've not seen this website, we'd highly recommend that you take a look. But something that was really interesting is that the usage of social media just continues to explode. There's over 3.5 billion social media users, which equates to about 45% of the world's population. eMarketer recently did a study, and they looked at who was using social media by generation. And so I think it's of no surprise to us to see that the millennials are a big part of who is using social media. So 90% of millennials are utilizing that, about 77% of Gen Xers, and about 48% of baby boomers. And when we look at our traditional demographic of people that come into the garden center, we often talk about focusing on that woman who's between 40 and 65 years of age. And I think what this past season has really taught us is that there's a huge opportunity when we start looking at the millennials and even Gen Y, as those younger customers are coming in, maybe with a first home, maybe with a first apartment, and they're looking for succulents and houseplants and vegetable transplants. And so this is a great opportunity for us as an industry, and for you personally, to really look at social media as a way to continue to build your business. What's really, really interesting is how much time people are spending on social media. And the statistic that you see on the screen here, this was actually from late 2018, early 2019. And what it says is that the average person spends 3 hours a day on social media networks and messaging. That doesn't take into account, someone reading the news or shopping. This is specifically on the social media platforms. And so as we think about how to meet customers and where to meet customers on their phone, this is a huge opportunity for us to look at Facebook and Instagram and YouTube as an opportunity to really connect, even when they're not in the store. The last slide that I wanted to share with you is just focused on the most used social platforms. And this is a study that was done by Hootsuite in January of 2020. And what you'll see, and what most of you probably expect, is that Facebook really is the #1 most used social platform all over the world. What they did is they measured the number of active users per month. And by active user, what that simply means is that a consumer logged into their Facebook account at least once within a 30-day period. And the numbers that you're seeing on the slide here are in millions. So what you'll notice is that there are 2.4 billion Facebook consumers across the globe. And Facebook really has been shaping the social media landscape since its launch, and is really continuing to evolve to meet users' needs. What was really interesting is that 2/3 of US adults basically report that they're Facebook users. And so I think for a lot of us that started with social media, Facebook was the initial entry point for us and for our businesses. But next is YouTube. There's 2 billion consumers that are utilizing YouTube. And what's really, really interesting when we start digging into that a little bit deeper is that 90% of US users, internet users between the ages of 18 and 44, are using YouTube every single day. So they're looking for how-to information. Maybe they're following their favorite influencer. They're really utilizing this, and this is a great opportunity to engage with that customer. And last but not least, I wanted to talk about Instagram. What's interesting, Instagram is a little lower on this chart, but Instagram did not report their findings to Hootsuite in terms of the number of users. So currently, Hootsuite puts them at about 1 billion users. We think it's significantly higher than that. Again, Instagram skews much younger. So the average person that's utilizing Instagram is between the ages of 25 and 34. So another great opportunity to connect with maybe that new customer that walked into the store in 2020, or someone that has never walked into your store. And so Susan and Jenny and Stacey are going to be talking in a lot more detail about not just the platforms, but really how you as a garden center can engage with those customers and really create connection moving forward. So without further ado, I'd like to turn it over to Stacey Hervela.
Thank you, Jessica. Hi, everybody. Thanks so much for joining us today. I was hired here at Spring Meadow. We manage the Proven Winners Color Choice Flowering Shrubs brand and all of the social media and advertising. So I was hired in 2011 as the second social media person. And it was really a departure from where we had been previously because I was a content person. I was a horticulturist by training. And before they really just, the person who had done it before was a social media person. And so they really transitioned from a very sort of by the book approach to social media to one that became much more organic and based on content. I have not taken care of our social media for about a year and a half, but the person, Christina Howley, who does take care of it is on maternity leave. So I'm filling in for her. But I do just need to give credit where credit is due because Christina, getting that fresh perspective that she brought and that new, flush of enthusiasm that she brought with it has really helped us to see just tremendous, tremendous growth. But I will be sharing a lot of my personal insights from the time that I did run social media and from, overseeing Christina's work, as well as just some general perspective on what works for us as well. So if you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask. And let's get started with the first slide. So the first thing that I wanted to say is that, I think that the best way to approach social media for a garden center or really for any business, brick and mortar business, is to think of it as customer service and not advertising. And the reason that I say this is because I think that it really puts you in the right frame of mind for the kind of content that people actually want to see and engage with in social media. Content that is overt advertising, overtly promotional, generally does not perform well. If you think about the stuff that you are posting and the kinds of things that you are posting as a service that you're providing to your customers, you'll generally have much better success with your post, much better engagement, higher likes, etc. And I think, I'm speaking, all of this comes from my perspective on the brand side of things. But I think that when I look at this, a post like this, there's just tremendous, tremendous opportunity for garden centers who can really connect that loop, because that's the hardest thing for us on the brand side is, we'll post great content and people say, well, where can I get this? And we can't answer that question. I mean, the number of garden centers out there, we don't know what you have. People don't usually bother to tell us where they are located. So even if we had access to that, we couldn't necessarily answer that question. So for you to actually post something like this, this photo of Azuri Blue Satin Rose of Sharon and say, hey, we just got Azuri Blue Satin Rose of Sharon. This heat tolerant plant is, no seed, so it won't put seedlings all around your yard. Look how blue those, those flower buds are. You're really telling your customer something like, hey, you don't have to wonder about this plant. I can answer all of your questions. You can get it here. There's one waiting for you. And so even though that does definitely have a promotional bent to it, you're providing a service, because there are people who are thinking right now, or at the time, of course, when the Rose of Sharon was in bloom, I want something. I need more color in my yard. And they just are waiting for someone to come along and to connect those dots. So I know that the numbers on this slide are extremely small, but if you look a little bit more closely, you'll see that this really simple post that's not, it's lovely, but not super breathtaking or anything like that. We had almost 5,000 likes, so 4.7 thousand likes on it, and 254 shares. And that's just for, basically little to no effort on our part. And I think, again, posting something like this, making that connection for people, yes, you can get this here. That's where a great, tremendous opportunity lies for garden centers in particular. You can go to the next slide, Jessica. So one of the things that I think is really important on social media is just getting into a habit of identifying something cool, something interesting, something beautiful with a potential social media post, because this really is not just a matter of like, okay, what am I going to post on social media? I guess I'll just go walk around the garden center and find something that's engaging. It's really just connecting a moment that you have, an emotion that you have just going about the daily business of your job, and saying, wow, I reacted like that. That would probably be a great social media post. So this example here is an example of how I personally failed at that. So I was walking into work one morning here at Spring Meadow Nursery in Michigan, This was last June. And, you know, these Atlas roses that are planted in front of the building were just looking absolutely spectacular. So I took this picture just with my phone, and, you know, I didn't think much of it. I think I might have put it on my own Instagram page, but then our social media person, Christina, saw it and she's like, oh, is it okay if I post that on Instagram? And I was like, it never even occurred to me, or sorry, this is on Facebook, but I think she put it on Instagram too. It never even occurred to me to say, hey, Christina, I just took this cool picture. Go ahead and put it on Facebook. But she, you know, made that connection. And I mean, again, I know the numbers are small, but hopefully you can see that. This is 31,000 likes and over 2,000 shares. And, you know, it was really just a matter of connecting this moment in time with content that people were going to relate to. And I'm going to get into some of these intricacies in a moment, but I did just want to point out some things about this photo that I think really helped it resonate with people. You can see it's dirty, it's real, it's messy. You know, this is not a situation where I said, oh, those Atlas roses are looking beautiful. Someone get a broom, let's clean up that curb. You know, it feels real. And that's what people really, really like about social media. And that's why I think you do need to cultivate that habit of, you know, saying, this is cool. And I think that my customers, my potential customers, will also think it's cool, or really respond to and engage with it. Now, it's really one of the things I want to make very clear to everyone who's listening is that anything that we share on the Proven Winners Color Choice Shrubs is yours to share. You know, when you participate in the Proven Winners brand, you are paying a marketing fee for us to do this type of marketing to help generate traffic for you. So this content belongs to you in as much as it belongs to us as well. Now, I would not recommend necessarily that you share this from our page, as much as we would love that credit. You know, you're generally speaking, if you as a garden center share something from our page, you're not going to get as much engagement as if you post it organically. So by all means, if you are keeping tabs on our page and you see this and you think, wow, that's really cool, I want to post it, right click on that photo, save it, and repost it on your own site. It is yours to use. Now, I mean, of course you can say, you know, hat tip to at Proven Winners Color Choice Shrubs. If you would like, we would love to have that shout out. But again, this is content that we produce on your behalf to help you sell more of the brand. So don't feel like, you know, just because I'm sitting here showing you this is something that we're keeping really close to the vest. This is for everybody to use, whether it's one of our professionally produced pieces or something that's a little bit more raw and organic like this. So we can go to the next slide. You also don't have to be perfect to create great social media content. And I think a lot of people start to feel really overwhelmed when they think about creating their own content. You know, oh, I'm not a good photographer. All I have is my phone. You know, these plants aren't looking amazing right now. This is just an example that we were actually working from home at the time, and there was that horrible frost in May. We had that, most of the country had that really, really bad prolonged cold snap in May. Things had been coming along, and we were like, well, we need to post something to like get the word out that this is the night you should be protecting your hydrangeas. So that's Shannon, our designer. And she's like, yeah, you know, my husband's home. I'll just grab a sheet and go and take this photo. And, you know, it explains a lot, it expresses a lot, and it's dirty. Again, it's messy, it's real. We didn't spend a lot of time styling it or thinking about how to do it. We saw that there was a need for content based on what was happening at that time, because social media, all of the things, well, maybe less so YouTube, but certainly Facebook and Instagram are very much of the moment. And when you can provide of the moment content like that, that really resonates with people, a problem they're having right then, something they're thinking about right then, you will usually do really, really well. So for as, you know, simple as this photo is, it's eye-catching. People were like, oh, what's going on? What is she doing? And then it has the caption that really explains it and provides this service. And, you know, the likes aren't super high on this, but you can see we got a lot of shares and a lot of comments, and really helped to boost our authority with, you know, people who engage with our page to say, you know, we care about your success. We care about the experience you are having with our product. And this, again, is a service that we are providing. So don't, again, let the perfect be the enemy of the good. Get it out there. You know, you can always delete it later if you don't like it, but you might be surprised at what resonates. And you don't need to make everything into a huge, big ordeal that starts to become overwhelming and might prohibit you from actually doing something. Keep it real. Like I said, this is so, so important. And I think, again, it's about recognizing those moments. So this was Christina, our social media person. She was out in the field getting some berries for a little video we were doing. And she just snapped this photo, just had it out there. It was kind of a snowy day. Obviously, the fields are impressive. It's not a super instructive photo, but it's the kind of thing that people engage with. It's the kind of thing that makes you feel like one of their friends that they're also seeing in their feed on Facebook. Oh, I wonder who's posting that. Oh, that was Proven Winners. It kind of puts the context back into the kinds of things that people are used to in engaging with and encountering on Facebook anyway. So don't be afraid to keep it real. This is really the opportunity, especially during the season when things are very timely, to really use what's right in front of you. I mean, yes, we have tons and tons of fantastic photos, very inspirational, professionally shot, and you should absolutely use those to encourage people to dream and inspire them. But don't be afraid of the little things that are happening every day, especially as a local business. This is how you build your authority. This is how you build community, which I think is actually my next slide. Yes. So Facebook is very much about community. And again, I think as a local business, this is where you really have the opportunity to shine. So this is actually a photo that one of our customers, Byland's Nurseries up in Canada, had sent us. And we could not resist it. Obviously, it's adorable. It doesn't hurt that there's a nice little brand message kind of tucked in there, but you can see the engagement that this got. And, it really helps to see, for people to see what your brand, and you are a garden center, you are a brand as well, what your brand brings to their life. It helps them see that other people feel the same way that they do about shopping with you. And again, it's just more of that natural, fun content. You wouldn't see this in an ad. You wouldn't see this necessarily in a magazine. Social media really gives us the opportunity to let the light shine on our customers, to shine on our fans, and to just create that sense of community that deepens their relationship with the brand. And just as an example, I tried to find a photo, but I couldn't. So my mom loves the Proven Winners coleus, and she has 2 big containers. She does them every year in front of her garage, and they were absolutely stunning, like just enormous. I mean, they practically dwarfed her. They were so fantastic. People were always stopping and asking her, and she got them at the garden center around the corner from her here in Michigan. And, I was like, oh, you should send that photo to the garden center. And she did, and they didn't do anything with it. And I was like, wow, what a missed opportunity. If a customer sends you a photo, emails it to you, posts it on your page, by all means, if it's a good photo and it's doing justice to your products, put it out there. Say, hey, Susan from Michigan, which is my mom's name, so wasn't pointing out Susan Martin there. Susan from Michigan just sent us this photo of the coleus she bought at my garden center. Look how fantastic they are. That's community. That's where you have the opportunity at a very, very low cost, essentially zero cost, to increase your standing with your customers. And, sometimes things fall flat on Facebook, and it's not always you. This is a post that we did recently for National Dog Day. We put out a call to a bunch of our employees to say, hey, send us a picture of your dogs with flowers. Normally, this kind of content would crush it. And for whatever reason, it really didn't. I mean, we have all these great photos. Now, I don't know if the issue here is that there was a lot of photos, so by the time people click through them, they're not thinking about clicking like on the post or whatever, but even the number of shares. I mean, come on, people love dogs on social media, right? So I would say don't always just assume that you've created something that is not going to resonate or isn't good. Sometimes Facebook really will suppress your content. They have done a lot to kind of decrease organic traffic compared to where things were, 9 years ago when I started doing this. So if great content underperforms, don't write it off, tuck it away, try it again later, try it with a different caption, a different format, or, just a different time of day or time of year. And don't just assume that it's not good content just because it didn't get super, super great engagement. The other thing you have to keep in mind about underperforming is that Facebook's metrics, don't necessarily result in sales. They don't necessarily translate to sales. So, you know, sure, a post could have hundreds or thousands of likes on it, but really, unless that's bringing people into your garden center, that's not really translating. So, you know, don't live and die by the like, don't live and die by the share or the comments or whatever. But, you know, do know that there is also this invisible hand of Facebook that is positioning your content in front of people. And, you know, like I said, it has become a lot harder to grow your following organically than it was 9 years ago. Facebook definitely started more of a pay to play model, for better or for worse. So you can still build a following organically by posting regularly, by posting good content that people like and engage with. But it does take more time. And it's just not quite as simple and intuitive as it used to be. So I did want to talk a bit about Facebook advertising, and that is where we're going to go for these next couple of slides before I hand it over to Susan. So give them the green. But yes, Facebook is going to charge you to pay to play, but you don't need to spend a lot of money to get great results. Facebook is actually really good at providing targeted, focused results for a very, very low cost, especially for a local business. So I have some tips here next on the next slide about advertising if you do want to try playing around with some advertising on Facebook. So Facebook's targeting, if you haven't played around with Facebook advertising, is fantastic. It can really let you get down to just a 20-mile radius around your garden center. It could do an entire zip code. It could do a DMA or a designated marketing area if you're in one of those and have considerable reach outside of your town. So you can really reach people who are actually going to shop at your garden center. You're not just like hoping to get more fans just for the sake of them. You actually want to reach customers who are going to translate again into sales for you. And, you know, even if you're advertising on Facebook, even if you're doing this pay to play thing, with the right messaging, it's not going to feel like an ad. It will still feel like a service. Like, I mean, you can imagine a Mother's Day campaign that's focused around gift ideas for people who maybe don't know what they're going to get. So they still have that service. Here's another thing that I want to just say that's really, really important and going to be one of my takeaways as someone who's done a lot of advertising on Facebook. You don't need to start with a huge budget. Honestly, decide to boost a post or place an ad, whichever that is, and start with $5 or $10, really that low, and see how it goes. You know, see what that initial response to that is, and then add another $5 or $10. You know, you don't need to start with $100. Facebook will really let you start with that low of a budget, so you can kind of get your feet wet, see how people are responding to it. So you don't need to go in all the way right away. And just one more thing I wanted to mention here is the Facebook lead gen ads. These are a different type of ad on Facebook, and they cost a little bit more than boosting a post or placing a regular ad. However, they will help you grow your email list with qualified leads. And it's very hard, of course, to get people to sign up for your email newsletter otherwise. So consider using the Facebook lead gen ads to grow your email newsletter list, because those customers who opt into that are definitely going to turn into, better customers or more engaged customers in the long run. And on my next slide, I have my single biggest tip of the webinar here. This is something that we discovered kind of accidentally, but I am sharing it with you happily because it has proven to be probably our best Facebook targeting method and our best way to grow our following and engagement. Target people with pet-related interests, whether that's pet adoption, dogs, cats, ASPCA, whatever it is. There's a whole bunch of different interests that Facebook will let you target. And this is the single best way we have found to get new customers. There's a lot of overlap between pets and gardening, and the people who love their pets are generally very open to the idea of gardening. And really, this is sort of the open door to targeting to find brand new customers who maybe have never engaged with your brand or never shopped at your garden center before. And I think I have just one more. Yes. So before I hand it over, this is really important. So this is Abby. Abby is filling in on social media while Christina is on maternity. And she actually works in another department here at Spring Meadow. But, she had just sort of the right vibe, I thought, for taking over on social media. And, she has like cute little things on her desk and she's on her phone a lot. So I thought, oh, she could be the right person. And she has just stepped up and done a tremendous job. So my final piece of advice, and this is true for all of the social media, of course, is find someone at your company who wants to do it. You do not necessarily need to take on another task when you're already super overwhelmed and super busy and have other things that you can't delegate. Find someone. There is definitely someone at your company who's itching to do social media, who wants to do it. And their enthusiasm and their level of engagement is going to absolutely be contagious. So, don't be afraid to delegate it. Don't be afraid to ask around and say, hey, who wants to take a stab at this? So that is all I have before we can turn it over to Susan.
Great. Awesome, Stacey. Actually, before we turn it over to Susan, I've just got a couple questions. Actually, a few have come in that you've answered during the presentation, which is always great. But just a couple I wanted to hit on while we still have you. One just came in and said they have a small nursery and they sell at farmers markets on Saturdays and just built a new website. And they're trying Facebook ads and got great engagement, but they haven't really seen that translating into sales. And they just wondered if you had any thoughts on why that might be generally, or any tips for them on that, where they're getting a good engagement, but it's not bringing people into the farmer's market.
Right, sure. So I would say that it might be targeting. You might be targeting people who are interested in your photography, but not actually interested in your content, but not actually interested in your business. Or it might be timing, especially if you're at a farmer's market and you have that very limited time frame. You want to post, you kind of want to plant the idea a bit before you're going to be at the farmer's market and then work to reinforce it as that day approaches. So I think that timing is really crucial. I know Susan's going to be talking quite a lot about timing, at least on Instagram. And a lot of that is going to be relevant for Facebook as well. But what I would recommend that you could consider to try to gauge that a little bit better is to add an offer to your posts, to your boosted posts for a farmer's market, and say, hey, mention our Facebook ad and we'll give you a free packet of fertilizer, or, for 25% off, or whatever that is. Try to, get that call to action. And that is so, so important. I really should have put that in, a call to action. Give people something to act on in your posts, especially if you are a brick and mortar business selling directly to consumers. Say, come to the garden, come to the farmer's market, mention our Facebook ad, and we'll give you X. And then that will really help to bridge that gap and help you gauge if that still continues to be the best use of your money.
Great. We just had another one come in that was asking if you have any advice for wholesale nurseries. I mean, you guys work with a lot of licensees. Do you see any of those folks who are using social media really well and seeing some benefits from doing that?
Yeah, I mean, I think that we could probably do a whole webinar on B2B social media, because, I think that probably, 8 or 9 years ago, it was unheard of. It was like, who would ever use Facebook and social media for B2B? And that has changed. And Facebook is unrolling a number of tools that are more effective for B2B. But, again, I would say a lot of these principles still apply. It's just that the audience is different. And especially on the nursery side, there are a lot of our wholesale customers are just not social media users themselves. That is changing, as our industry changes. But I would say, try to keep it on this, of the moment kind of thing. We sell liners at Spring Meadow. So if I go out into the greenhouse and I see a crop that's looking particularly great, I'll just snap a picture of it and throw it up on the Spring Meadow page. And it's like, hey, liners of Perfectimundo azaleas are looking really great right now. Call your account manager to check on availability or to order or whatever that is. So again, I think it's a bit beyond the scope of just this one, but the potential for wholesale on social media has definitely increased substantially in the last couple of years.
Great. Yeah, and I actually, just as you answered that one, we got a little feedback that they would love to see a whole webinar on B2B. So Jess and I are always looking for new ideas on webinars. So that's great for somebody to hop right in there and say they really like that idea. So that might be something we can look at for a few months from now. So I think at this point, we'll probably, just for the sake of time, move it on to Susan. I know a couple of questions were popping up that might have been a little more in detail. We're capturing all that, and we will definitely get back to you folks. If we didn't get on the webinar, we'll get back to you with a little bit more in-depth answers for a couple of your questions in there. So we'll pass it over to Susan.
All righty. Hey, thanks, Stacey. That was some great advice on Facebook. So now we're going to switch over to Instagram, which is a whole different animal than Facebook. Some similarities, some advice applies to all, but we're going to talk about specifically the core information you need to know to start and run a successful Instagram account for your retail business. And some of this advice will apply to wholesalers as well. So let's just start with the why. Jessica and Megan told me, you know what? There was a lot of retailers who don't have Instagram accounts and they don't really know why it's important. They're on Facebook, but why do they really need to be on Instagram? And you know, if you tuned in the very beginning, Jessica showed the statistics of the younger people who are online using social media. And you know that this is the next generation of people that are going to be shopping at your store. These are the people who are buying new houses and putting in new landscapes. Instagram is the first place that younger people tend to look for your business and to look for the plants they're looking for, to look for the ideas for their new house. Younger people will look you up on Instagram before they look you up on Facebook and way before they look on your website. So this is often the very first point of contact with your customers is Instagram. So if you're not there, you're not relevant, and that's not a good thing. So what should you post? Once you have an account, you know, oh my goodness, now what am I going to post? Well, Stacey alluded to this as the posting being a service, and I'm going to second that idea. And I'm going to just tell you that really it's not about advertising. It's about inspiring and informing your customers and your potential customers about what you have to sell. So if you include sales messages all the time, Instagram will show your posts to fewer people, because Instagram does not, or favors individuals over businesses. And the more salesy you get, the less exposure you will get organically through Instagram. So, you know, people, yes, are going to be coming to your Instagram. They do want to see, you know, what you have in store or what's on sale, but primarily they want to know about your business, what kinds of things you have to sell, how they can incorporate those things into their own garden. You know, okay, I know you sell pink petunias, but what do I do with pink petunias? Or in this particular picture on this slide, I want to attract pollinators to the garden and birds to the garden, but I don't know how to do it. So posts like inspirational posts that give information about how to implement the things you are selling in their own garden are really what's going to build your following over time. Having that consistent information that's helpful to them is what's going to matter to people. And if you think about it, this is the kind of posting you like to see from other people when you're on Instagram or Facebook too. When should you post and how should you do it? Well, you don't have to go crazy losing your mind doing Instagram just from your phone. I know a lot of people think that, but that's not how we manage Instagram actually. We manage Instagram from a laptop as far as posting all of the content, and just like you can. And we do that through Iconosquare and Sched Social. And there are some other options shown there on the screen for you. Sched Social is our posting platform. We schedule out about a week in advance all of our posts. We post all the photos there, all of the captions, all of the hashtags, everything is lined up and ready to go on a certain day at a certain time. And there's a calendar that's easy to use there to help you plan out your content. And then Iconosquare is a separate service, and that is our tracking. That's it tracks the effectiveness of our posts, how many people are engaging. It also tells us when our fans are online. So on the next slide, you'll see icona square. This is a post timing map. So the larger blue dot was the more effective post. So I can see that, you know, one thing I can see here is that it's not the same every day of the week. So on Mondays, 7 a.m. was the most effective time, but on Fridays, 10 a.m. was the most effective time. Why is that important? That's important because you need to be posting when your followers are using Instagram. And this is the way you know they are using it, is by testing out these different times. And the life of an Instagram post is about 2 hours, 2 to 3 hours. After 2 to 3 hours, far fewer people will interact with your post. So if you see here, we post every day of the week, and we encourage you to do the same during your season, especially. And you could even post in the morning and in the evening. We also get good traffic on our evening posts. In your off season, let's say you're closed in December and January and February, you should not just abandon your Instagram account completely. You should continue to post at least a few times a week to keep the momentum going. So it looks like you're still in business. You can always post content that gets them excited for the new season and sneak peeks of showing them what's coming and what's new. So important to post every day. And you don't have to go crazy posting every day. You can schedule that out, and it's what you do manage from your phone is the comments and the questions you get. And we'll talk more about that in a minute. So your Instagram account consists of two main parts, your page and your story. Your page is shown here on the left. That's where you see our brand logo, our name. This screen capture is from my phone, and since I'm the administrator of this account, I have different buttons up there than you would see if you went to our account as a follower. But basically, this is the main page where people go to see all of your content. They get an idea of what your business is about by just scanning through your page and seeing the photos. You'll notice Instagram is a very visual platform. Great photos the eye-catching photos are usually what resonate with people. Yes, they can be in the moment photos, but they still need to be good quality photos. So your page photos shown there on the left on that screen are evergreen content. They don't disappear unless you delete them. And you'll notice there's one link available on your page, and it's in your bio at the top. People were having a hard time finding our link, so I literally put the word link with an arrow pointing to it, and you can see it there, the www dot. Your actual posts cannot include links, much to my chagrin. It would make Instagram so much easier for people if they did, but they don't. That's one of the reasons stories are so important. So you can see here on the right, we have a story with a link about swipe up to learn about growing ornamental grasses. So on that same day, you'll see on the left here, I posted a picture of Panicum Cheyenne Sky with some info about how it turns red in the fall and how to incorporate it into your landscape and kind of design with it. And then on the same day, I posted a story that's shown on the right there with a link on more detailed information on how to actually grow ornamental grasses. So stories can include links, but posts cannot. Stories are not evergreen content either. They disappear after 24 hours. So it's important to archive those in your highlights if you want to save them. Hashtags are extremely important for Instagram more than any other platform. Every post that you put up should have hashtags on it. So think of hashtags as like adjectives or file folders that your post belongs to. So let's say this post has coleus in it. This is a shade container, and it has a color blaze in it. So you'll see the hashtags we used in this post were color blaze, because that's what plant line is included here, shade garden, shade plants, container gardening. Every article you read will tell you to use a different number of hashtags. The latest I've read was 10 to 25 hashtags per post. This is how people who aren't already following you, who want to look for content on Instagram, will find you, and it'll help you build your following this way. So for example, you'll see a list of hashtags that we use very commonly on the far right here. Deer resistant. So let's say someone's coming to Instagram to look for deer resistant plants. They search the deer resistant hashtag, and because we included that in our post will come up in their search results. You'll also see we used hashtag proven winners on every single post we do, because people follow our page with the @ symbol at proven winners, which will bring them to our main page. But the hashtag shows every post on Instagram that people tagged proven winners in. So there's probably 10 hashtags a day, or sorry, 10 posts a day put up by people hashtagging proven winners, showing their Supertunia Vista bubblegum petunias in their garden. And so that's a fun way for people to get to see our plants growing in other people's gardens when they hashtag proven winners in their posts. Next slide. Engagement. You know how important engagement is at the store level, physically, when someone comes into the store and they're greeted, and you know, you ask them if what you can do to help them. Can you help them find a plant? It's really the same online. Every question that comes in on your Instagram post, comment, and it's all a chance to engage and build a relationship with your online customers, who will also, many of whom will become your actual customers in store. So that's important for the relationship building, but it's also important for the person who's managing your Instagram to help them understand what the people who are following you really want to know more about. It'll help you decide what kind of content to put up on your page. You'll notice that on our page today, it says, hey, a lot of people asked on Saturday's post about this. So here's a picture of that. And here's some more information about what you asked about in one of our last posts. So it really will help you as well to follow, to engage with your customers, answer their questions. And for your store, it will help you, give you ideas for, you know, things you should be training your staff on, you know, questions you should be training your staff to answer, maybe end caps or workshops you can offer. You know, a ton of people are asking about pruning hydrangeas this time of year. You know, that might be a great online workshop for you to offer. So here's just a quick example of an engagement. This is from Iconosquare. So this is how I can tell how well this post worked. This is a limelight hydrangea I shot at the Proven Winners Color Choice display gardens this fall. And you can see the important number here is engagement on reach, 12.73%. So of the people who reached, this post reached, almost 13% of them made an action on it, meaning they liked it, they commented on it, they saved it, they shared it, that kind of thing. And I'm going to end the same way Stacey did, is talking about who manages your content. Yeah, you may have someone in your business who already is a good fit for this purpose, or you may need to hire someone. So the qualities you need to look for are someone who's very knowledgeable about what they're posting, can easily answer these questions, because you will get a lot of them and you need to answer them fairly quickly. Someone who's friendly, has a friendly personality, because this person is the voice of your company, essentially. And often it's the person who's managing your Instagram for these younger shoppers. This is the first person they encounter for your store, and this is the first impression they are getting about your business. So it's a customer service position, it's a public relations position. So this is not something that you know, I know a lot of people are guilty of this. I have done this before too. But how many of you have been answering your Instagram questions or checking your Instagram late at night, finally at the end of the day when you finally fall into bed? This is not the way to manage your PR for your business. So hire the right person, someone with an even temperament. There are a lot of internet trolls out there who are not real nice sometimes. I say sometimes it takes a skin of as thick as a rhinoceros to manage social media, but look for that person. They're out there, and that is a very important position to hire for in your business. I think that's
Great.
all I had. Yep.
Thank you, Susan. Some awesome information, and we got a bunch of questions that have come through. The first one asked, don't you need to have over 10,000 followers to link an online post to your story?
I do think you need 10,000 followers to link in a story. I think you're right. I think we're spoiled that way. We have 130,000. So another thing you could do in your story, this is more in the moment content that lasts 24 hours. So you could put, a beauty shot on your page of a certain hydrangea and tell someone about, give them some good information about the hydrangea. And then in your story, that could be a picture of those hydrangeas on a table in your garden center, just in, come on, get them while they last, kind of thing.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Another question was, someone was asking can you post from your laptop directly to Instagram.com? They've had trouble figuring out how to do that.
No, you need an app to do that. So that's why we use Sched Social. And there you could use Planoly or those other names we had listed there, but and some are easier than others. Many of them have free plans and some are paid plans. But even at our rate, or even at our large number of followers, 130,000, it's $50 a month. So for you, it's going to be either free or probably $20 a month to have that kind of service. Otherwise, if you don't have that kind of service, you have to do it all from your phone, which is really not the best move. It's a lot harder. So you'll have to send yourself pictures to save on your phone if those pictures are on your laptop, and then post them from your phone. And when you're super busy in the middle of your retail day, that is not a good move.
And then the final question is actually, looks like just generally being asked about this webinar. I think from all the great content that's coming out is, yes, Jess mentioned at the beginning, we will be recording this and you're free to share this with your customers. Someone asked if you can share it with customers and growers, this content, so that you're not trying to take crazy notes and remember all of this. Absolutely. A few days afterwards, we'll make this available both up on YouTube and send the link out to the registered users. So that will be available. And just one more popped up. From an Instagram perspective, I think, because we talked about this on Facebook, but someone was asking, do you feel when you have more hashtags, do you feel like the better the post is received or the better engagement that you get? Do you see a direct correlation there?
No, not really. So the hashtags are basically what people use to search. So no, I wouldn't say having 40 hashtag or 30 hashtags on a post is going to make it perform exponentially better than if you had 5 hashtags on a post. No, your content and how it resonates and your engagement is really what's going to move the numbers on your Instagram. And I see someone asked about the name of the scheduling service. That was Sched Social, SKED Social.
Awesome.
And that's on the picture of that logo is on the slide too, that they'll get after this presentation's over on the recording.
Perfect. Awesome. Thank you, Susan. I think we can turn it over to Jenny now.
Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. So yes, my name is Jenny Simpson and my husband and I own Creekside Nursery in Dallas, North Carolina. So in case you don't know where Dallas is, we are about 40 miles west of Charlotte and we are just right above the South Carolina line. So we are very much in the South and love it here in the South. Creekside is a destination garden center. We are really out of the way. You have to know who we are and where we are and that you are coming with a purpose. And we truly are a small business. So here on the screen, you will see that's my husband, Jerry, and I down there at the bottom. Jerry is also our cameraman. We have 3 kids who are very involved in the nursery. But we only have a handful of employees. So when both Stacey and Susan were talking about, bigger companies and bigger nurseries, that's just not who we are. We are a very small company. We were incorporated in 2005. We really started building the nursery as it is now in 2014. And we are very much hands-on, do-it-yourself, building literally from the ground up. And I'm telling you all of this because social media has played a massive role in our success as a nursery in getting our name out to the public. So we have Christine, who is down there. That is she and I at the Southern Spring Show in Charlotte this past February. She is my right-hand lady. I call her my creative genius, but she is also our video editor for all of our videos on YouTube. It is just a massive undertaking to take on YouTube. So I want to kind of explain a little bit of that to you. So with YouTube, there is 1 billion hours of YouTube is watched per day, which I just find that mind-blowing. That is a massive amount of content that is viewed every day. It is the second most visited site in the world. And it is technically the second largest search engine in the world because it is owned by Google. So a lot of, we all do it. How do I block, fill in the blank? You're going to go to YouTube. Even if you just do a Google search, most of the time it is going to send you straight to YouTube. The total number of daily active users is just massive. I mean, look at that number. People that are on there every single day. 73% of the adults in the United States are going to use YouTube. And this is what I find really interesting, especially as an independent garden center. The age bracket of the 35 plus and the 55 plus is the fastest growing YouTube demographics. And who are we looking for as nurseries to come in and shop? Those are our people. Those, along with the millennials who are there. So this is just really untapped potential for your customer base is through YouTube. And this is really interesting. 60% of people will actually prefer these video platforms like YouTube over live television. So when we started doing YouTube, it kind of caught me off guard. At first, people would come to the nursery and they're like, oh, you're the lady on TV. And I'm thinking, I'm not on TV, I'm on YouTube. But so many people will now, because of technology, display their YouTube on their television. So what you're seeing right here is our YouTube page. So if you put in Gardening with Creekside into YouTube, this is what will come up. This is who we are. As soon as you come to our page, there will be a video that automatically starts playing. I can choose what is, the most popular, what's in season, just as something to grab people's attention. So they're like, oh, I really want to know what that is. And so then they'll sit there and watch. Below that, you will see a playlist that we have. So you can organize all your videos into playlists. And this particular one, it says new to this channel. So if you were the first time coming to Gardening with Creekside, these are some of our most popular videos that really, if you watch these videos, you will get an idea and a sense of who we are as a YouTube channel, who we are as a nursery, who we are as people individually. So just a whole different array of gardening topics. And then below that is the playlist of recent uploads. So that will be placed in order from the most, recently produced, and then go back backwards in time. And your goal with YouTube is to create content that your viewers find value in. You've got to tap into what is of value of my viewers, and so that they can subscribe easily to your channel, because once they subscribe, then they can easily see the information that you put out. Now, keys to success with YouTube. So let me just back up here just for a second. We were exactly the nursery that both Stacey and Susan were talking about. We first got started into Facebook. We did tons of Facebook lives. That was a really easy way for us to basically vlog around the nursery and to show our customers what was in season, what was growing. And then we moved into Instagram. And finally, within the last year, we have joined into the world of YouTube. I will say, after doing all 3 of these, that YouTube is going to be the most intense. It is going to require the most level of commitment. So if you decide to get into YouTube, it is a great thing. It is a lot of fun, but you really have to decide, are we going to commit mostly our time and our energy and our effort into doing this social media platform? The content pretty much takes care of itself because we're all in the gardening horticultural world. So that is pretty self-explanatory, but you've got to find, again, with your content, we really find that it needs to be educational and relational. In all of these social media aspects, it is not only that you're giving education to your customers, your viewers, but you are relating to people. You are opening yourself up, especially in YouTube, because it is not just a still photograph. It is an actual video that you get to hear people. You get to hear that sweet Southern voice talking to you. You get to see different parts of the world and different growing conditions across, the United States. So it's very relational. People want to connect with you. So you've got to have that interaction with other people. Now, you need the camera equipment, the sound equipment, you need editing software, you need someone to edit those videos. And we will get into that in the next slide. And then also you need to have a willingness to understand how YouTube actually works from the creator's perspective, because you can have the absolute best video in the entire world of all history, but if you don't understand how YouTube works, nobody's going to see it and it's not going to go anywhere. So there is a whole backside of editing with YouTube that we could do a whole webinar just on how you edit your videos on the back end that no one sees, with keywords and your descriptions and your titles and when do you publish and all of those things that go with it. So you've got to be willing to learn all of those analytics with YouTube and how it works. And finally, you've got to have fun. If this is not enjoyable for you, you're not going to last in YouTube, because as Susan said, you really, unfortunately, have to have a very thick skin, because you are opening yourself up personally to the whole world for criticism. And unfortunately, there are those trolls out there that will jump on you for anything. So if you're not having fun, you really, that's just the key. And people will know that when they're watching your video. If you have an enthusiasm and a joy and you're excited and you show your mistakes. I'm all about being real and showing your mistakes. People relate to that. So if you had a project that you were doing and it was a complete flop, or it was just an okay, show that to people, because it makes you real and relatable, and they understand that, and they then encourage you and have a lot of fun with you. So have fun. And then the next slide is equipment. So we got some great advice when we first started into YouTube, and it was, the best camera is the one you have. Because my husband, Jerry, is all about, what's the best thing that we need? What's the equipment that we need? We're all about working smarter, not harder. So what's the best camera? What's the best sound system? All of these things. And somebody just told us, whatever camera you have in your pocket or that's close to you, use that. Capture that moment and be real and authentic. So we do use iPhones. So when we're doing vlogging around the nursery, we do a nursery tour every week. And so we're just using I happened to get a new iPhone. It was time for my phone to get a new one. So I got a new iPhone and we put it on a gimbal. It's a DJI gimbal. So that just keeps things smooth. So there's not a lot of bounce and gyration. And we just go with that. And we just walk around the nursery, and we use the Rode wireless mic. It's very simple. Because I am walking around the nursery, I cannot be physically tied to the camera. So this works on Bluetooth. It does amazingly well. It picks up sound really well, simple to use. Not only can you use it with iPhones, but you can also use it with more advanced cameras like Canon. So we also use various Canon cameras. And again, we have those on tripods because the last thing you want to do is to make your viewers seasick from the bouncing, and no matter what, you think you have a steady hand until you actually try to do a slow-mo and do an up-close shot of a plant or a flower, and you realize you do not have a very steady hand. So you're going to have some sort of tripod with that. Our software that we use to edit, for the real edited videos, we use the Final Cut Pro software. And then, if you're using your iPhone and you're doing a nursery tour, you can just use iMovies. If you know how to really use that system and that software really well, that app, go for it, because you can make fantastic little clips with that, with that simple iMovie and with an iPhone. So it doesn't have to be complicated. It's kind of start small and you can work your way up, because there is a big learning curve, just like with everything else in YouTube. But it's just a really interesting, fun, very involved, very personal way to reach your customers. But I will say this. So again, when I say that we are out in the middle of nowhere, we are literally out in the middle of nowhere. But since our YouTube channel has really taken off, which was this summer, we routinely have customers driving 4 hours away to come see us just for the day. So we're in North Carolina. We have people routinely from Virginia, Tennessee, Georgia, South Carolina that just make a day trip just to come shop at Creekside, which is really kind of mind-blowing that people would come from outside of Atlanta, Georgia to little old Dallas, North Carolina and Gaston County to come shop at our nursery. But they're just so excited to come. So social media, YouTube especially, has broadened our reach for customers to come to us. So if you think that, well, what is social media going to do for my business? It can open up to just a whole new world of customers that you never knew were there, or rather they never knew that you were there. So that is YouTube in a very quick little nutshell.
Awesome, Jenny. Thank you. We just had a couple questions for you. I think one is a really big question, asking how you learned how to make videos for YouTube. But obviously that's a whole can of worms. But what were some of the first places you looked for resources, or when you were interested in doing it, where you found out some of this information about back end and what you were doing as far as the editing went and things like that?
Sure. So I will tell you this. As far as content, we're all very familiar with Laura and Garden Answer, and there's tons of different YouTube channels out there that you can look at those channels for an inspiration on how you want the format of your videos to be. So that's kind of, I would just say, look at a lot of those YouTube channels, a lot of videos to see, kind of the structure that you would want your videos to be. But as far as learning the back end, like how in the world did we learn editing? So I would really recommend, unless you are that person that really understands software and you just get software, I am not that person. I sat with Final Cut Pro for probably 45 minutes just trying to figure out how to put a clip in. I am not that person. But my Christine, she sat down and literally 3 seconds had almost, like, she had put all these things in. Her mind gets editing software. So if you're not that person, definitely find someone who understands. She didn't even know the program. Like, she did not know Final Cut Pro, but her brain just works. So she was able to figure it out really well. Another great resource, I did not put this up here, but for understanding how YouTube works, is Vid Iq. So it's VID and then IQ. It is a company that is actually approved with YouTube that will help teach you all of the back end, the analytics, how does YouTube work in a very user-friendly way. So I have learned massive amounts of timing, keywords, description, and all the importance of that from that Vid Iq. And so again, they have a YouTube channel. So you can go there, and the basic information is free. And then of course they have different levels that will help you analyze your YouTube channel and really hone in on keywords specific to your channel. But just the great basics is just go to Vid Iq on their YouTube channel.
Okay, and one more for you, Jenny. How often are you trying to post? Do you have a set that you're trying, as far as how many videos you're trying to do in a week, or how do you kind of plan that out?
So when we first got started, it was one a week. Like that was what we can handle, and that is what we did. We are now up to 4 times a week, especially at this time of year in the summer, even into fall, because again, we are in North Carolina, so we have a very long growing season. So we're still going strong here with planting. So we are up to 4 videos a week right now. And really, I would say with that is be consistent. So whatever your schedule is, just be consistent. There are some days, as far as YouTube analytics go, that there's more viewers than other days. But as long as you kind of pick that same day every week, we find that really helps, because people will go, oh, well, it's Monday morning, or it's Saturday morning. I'm going to sit here with my coffee because I know Gardening with Creekside has put out a video, so I can sit here and watch Jenny while I'm drinking my coffee. So we hope that we can continue with 4 videos a week during the winter. That will be interesting. Obviously, we'll go a little bit less from actual gardening how-tos to more just general lifestyle and things that are happening at the nursery. But because we are a grower, we will actually show people what does it mean, in January, February, when you get thousands of baby annual plugs from proven winners. Like, how does that little plug turn into this gorgeous petunia hanging basket? So we'll see.
Awesome, thank you. I think I have one other question, Jess, that came in kind of in between presenters that I thought might be a good one, that either probably any of the 3, but probably Susan or Stacey could answer. We're just asking about Facebook and Instagram advertising, and are they going to start showing advertising across platforms where they're, owned by the same entity? Or have you seen any of things trending that way, or what you think the future of that holds?
Yeah, sure, I can take that. So, it's interesting that Facebook doesn't really make a big ordeal out of them owning Instagram, because they want you to pay twice. You can manage if you have a business manager. And when I say business manager, that's a way to manage your Facebook and Instagram advertising in one thing. You can manage them separately. If you have a business manager, you can integrate them. Facebook really, though, does not really kind of allow like a one-click thing at present. It would be great if they did, but they don't. And, the formats are different too. So you'd probably need different creative on both of them. But, we definitely have better success advertising on Facebook than Instagram, but I think it just depends on what you're selling and who your audience is.
I'd agree. We've done some Instagram advertising, but very little, and haven't seen nearly the return on Instagram as we do on Facebook with ads.
Awesome. Thank you guys on those questions. I'm going to hand it back over to Jess. I think I've addressed most that have popped up through, but if there's anything that we did not get to, Jessica and I will review this and we'll answer any outstanding questions, or if things pop up after as you guys are thinking about some of this information. We will get to anything that wasn't answered. But right now, I know we're a little bit over time, so I'm going to hand it back over to Jess.
Sure. Well, thank you. And thank you to Stacey and Susan and Jenny. That was an amazing amount of information. And so to end the webinar, we wanted to just share a couple ways that Proven Winners as a brand can really help you with your social media and with some of your marketing programs and tools. And about a year ago, we launched a program that we call Connect Plus. And so there's a link on the screen at the top that you can see there. Really, the goal behind this was to support garden centers. We know that you're strapped for time. You may not have as many employees as a larger garden center. And so our goal was to really leverage the Proven Winners brand in the marketing and to support you. We have 4 tiers within Connect Plus. So we have a free option, and then we have 3 pay for options. So essentially that allows you to select the level of support that you might want or need for your business. And so we do things like social media support and targeted Facebook campaigns and Pandora campaigns and graphics and video content and a lot more. So I'd highly recommend, if you didn't take part in Connect Plus last year, this is a great opportunity, whether that's at the free level or a pay for level in 2021. Also, we have a lot of free assets. I know sometimes when you start looking at budget, maybe you don't have budget to do certain things. And there's a lot of tools that we offer our garden center customers for free. There's a link at the top of the screen here as well. This is a free Google Drive that we created actually during COVID with a number of free social media graphics. So these are pre-sized, they're created for Facebook and Instagram. We also have kids gardening projects and images. Speaking of images, we have a free image library. So if you have someone who is really creative, maybe they're utilizing Canva, you want to create some of your own Instagram posts, all of our images are free for you to use. So we want to make it as simple as possible for you guys to be able to utilize the tools that we have and to help you as you're doing that. Lastly, we just want to remind you that we do have a few additional webinars this fall. Our next webinar will be Tuesday, November 17th. And we'll be talking with 4 independent garden centers across North America, just on some of the things that they did in 2020 that were very successful, but more importantly, what they're planning on doing in 2021. And I think that's a big question for a lot of us. So we'd really encourage you to sign up for that. And more than anything, we'd just like to sincerely thank our panelists for their time and the knowledge that they so graciously shared with us today. Thank you. We ran a little bit long. Thank you guys for sticking with us. But on behalf of Megan, myself, and the entire Proven Winners organization, we want to thank you for your time and your support. If you have questions, if you'd like to see additional webinars on social media, feel free to send that in the chat function or email Megan or myself. There's just so much information that we could share on social media, and I think we just barely scratched the surface. So thank you all for your time. We appreciate it, and enjoy the rest of your week.